who's got the egg on their face?
These dudes are super mad.
I would do that deliberately.
This photo sells for over $1 million.
It's housing other people's work. That's like AI right now.
So today we are reacting to a piece from the Time YouTube channel about a photographer named Richard Prince who exploits the idea of artistic appropriation when it comes to photography specifically.
He's infamous. Infamous photographer.
This man is cropping photos and making millions off of it. He's insane.
Around the 70s, I was hired at Time Life as the stock boy. And then my job was to collate the editorial part of the magazine. What I was left with were the advertisements. I wanted to photograph something that had already been photographed.
Honestly, I think that's a really interesting idea. Very interesting idea.
I feel like especially back then where it's like he's using a 35mm camera to take photos of these advertisements in magazines. So he's taking these photos in the magazine, right? And this is in the 80s. He's taken a bunch of them. He's reframing these because on all these Marlboro ads of the things he's seeing, those are what really inspired him. There's a bunch of big fat white text. It's Garrett's favorite thing.
Big fat white text.
Big fat white text. There's also product imagery in like the bottom left-hand corner. He's a little tricky boy. He's getting these nice angles. He's reframing them and kind of showing these advertisements in a different light.
And kind of long story short, these photographs end up selling for a ton of money, like millions of dollars. And you know, rightfully so, these commercial photographers whose work it actually is are pissed. They're not happy about
These dudes are super mad because one of the guys, he's just walking around, sees his photo, does a little double take. He's like, that's my photo.
Yeah.
But technically, not his photo.
Technically not his photo. That's the weird kind of in between where it's technically Philip Morris's photo. They got paid money in exchange for their services, right? It's a very common thing as a creative.
Yep.
Somebody pays you money to do a thing. And I feel like oftentimes we feel like maybe we have creative ownership over it, and we do to an extent, but we don't actually own it.
But yeah, so he's doing all this work and he starts selling these works, selling other people's work without attribution. He's not saying who took the original photo. And so I feel like rightfully so, people are mad. People are a little up in arms about it. And he has this really interesting philosophy. Well, the photographers kind of call him out and they're saying
it's without risk for him. He's taken failure out of the artistic equation.
And he talks about it too, where he's like,
Unlike most photography, I'm pretty much guaranteed when I click the shutter of what I'm going to get.
so there isn't a lot of inherent risk. And part of also what makes people mad about Richard Prince is his limited technical ability. I don't think he calls himself a photographer. I don't think he labels himself as that because I don't think he really has like the technical knowledge that a photographer has.
He's kind of skirting under the identity of like a contemporary artist. And so, which I don't know, feels a lot better than I crop photos and steal them. But so this man is gobbling up all these photos and for a long time, he's just sitting on them. For like 20 years, he's sitting on them. He takes these photos in the 80s and then the one that sells, it's called Entitled Cowboy. I think that also might be the series, but it's this photo. We'll put it on screen. And this photo sells for over $1 million. It's insane. But now the question is, or the people buying it know that it's his take on like appropriation of art, of this advertisement, essentially.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, who's got the egg on their face? Who's the idiot in this exchange, right? Like, do they understand this isn't actually a photo from Richard Prince? It is, but it isn't. He does capture in the photos because he crops them. It's just this beautiful like Americana vibe on all his photos. Not his photos, sorry, on the commercial photographer's photos that he then took a photo of. And so, yeah, so it's interesting if people going to the galleries looking at his work, not understanding that these aren't really his photos. And I think that's partly his fault. His fault not being explicit because the you know, at a gallery it says the title, so it's like Untitled 0, Untitled 1, whatever, and then underneath it says Richard Prince.
Well, do you think? I feel like he's doing it intentionally. He's like, I want the credit. If people mistaken that it's like, oh, you took those photos, it's really cool. He's like, yeah. It was pretty sick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like is
he going out and explaining to people like, well, actually, I set up a camera and I'm like, I'm getting rid of the moire of the print and blah 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 blah. No.
Yeah, well, it's totally the context behind like what he's doing. I think the whole time he's just trying to like house people's work, and I don't know. For me, I feel like other people are kind of looking at it deeper than it is.
Yeah,
I think he's just trying to take credit, and other people are like, well, I don't know. I can see both sides, but I feel
Yeah.
like people are like, it's so interesting. He's doing this play on things. I was like, I don't think he thought it. I think it's not that deep.
Yeah.
I think he's just trying to house
I
people's work.
it's a classic idea of like the convergence of right timing, luck, and honestly like perseverance on his end.
Yeah,
You got to give him a
it's
little
true.
bit of credit. If he took these photos like in the 80s or maybe the 90s, whenever it was, and it didn't sell till like 2005, that's like 20 years.
It's a long time.
It's a long time to just like sit on these bad boys.
So there's this relationship. There's a relationship between the photographer and the company. Photographer is exchanging money for talent, and they get nothing like after that. That they do the job, they take the photos, done.
Yeah.
Richard Prince comes in afterward and takes their stuff. The photographer's mad. But tell me your thoughts on the relationship between like the company and the photographer, because Marlboro, Philip Morris never steps in here to say, hey, you can't use that photo and you can't sell it for $1 million. That never happens.
No, yeah.
So tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I feel like it's just classic example of the artist being taken advantage of, dude. So it's the company has all the power and the artist has none of the power. And so there's just this inherent imbalance between those two people of the company being able to dictate what happens, the artist giving their services, having no rights to them after the fact, and then Richard Prince, what he does, and this is why I think Richard Prince is interesting. I'm not going to say I'm pro Richard Prince. This is why I think he's interesting, is that he is taking that in between, that imbalance, and exploiting it. He's exploiting the fact that the person who took the photo doesn't actually own the photo. It's this company. I want to describe it almost as like, this is horrific, but like a scab. Like he's exposing like this disgusting underneath that is this imbalance between this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think he's interesting.
So do you think there's ever like a solution to this relationship? Like, is the imbalance going to last forever? Like,
well, okay, this is where I think we are living in a Richard Prince era right now with AI. Because you think of Richard Prince, he is housing other people's work. Does that sound familiar? Sounds a little familiar. He's housing other people's work. Limited technical ability.
yes.
That's like AI.
Or
right
AI
now.
like praises itself on you don't need technical ability to make cool stuff.
Yeah.
Richard Prince doesn't need technical ability to take cool photos because the photos are already taken. He's just changing them up a little bit.
So I feel like we're kind of reliving this whole experience.
Yes, you're right.
And what's happening right now is the exact same thing that happened with Richard Prince, where the artist is being taken advantage of and they have no ability for recourse.
Yes, there's no repercussions because it's not only in AI, but we also talked about this with social media.
Yeah.
There's so many different channels where it's like, oh, clips of so-and-so, clips of this, or it's people housing other people's shorts and just putting Subway Surfers gameplay on the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Like, not a whole lot of technical ability you need to just scale that sucker down, put the photo on top, split screen that sucker. And people are making a lot of money off this stuff. It's insane. And people are frustrated, but they are also exploiting this relationship with the artist, with the company. Someone needs to step in, maybe. What is the degree of, like, you have to change in a piece of artwork to make it your own from somebody else?
Okay, so these Instagram accounts, Richard Prince is taking these pieces, but he's making them more popular.
That's true.
Than they would have been. You look at those Marlboro ads, and I'm going to be honest here, like, the cropping is nice.
It is nice. The
Like,
reframing is cool.
He does a good. It's interesting in this video that we'll show you. It's like it shows the Richard Prince crop, and then it shows the full ad. And when you look at the full ad, it just feels cheap a little bit.
Yeah.
You look at that raw photo though, you're like, that's hard. That's a cool photo.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's just interesting where it's like, would these photos have been as popular if Richard Prince had not rephotographed them?
Yeah,
and you see that too, like on social media all the time. Like, how pumped would we be if somebody stole one of our clips, put it somewhere? I mean, the internet is a lot better nowadays of like finding who it is.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a benefit there, whereas these poor photographers, like, zero attribution. I don't feel like anybody's even asking the question who took these photos because his name is just underneath it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's an interesting discussion there where it's like, would it have been as popular? And I think no. I think it wouldn't have been.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, without Richard Prince, they're just Marlboro ads from the 80s.
Yeah.
They're not these really cool, depictions of America, this idealistic interpretation of what it was, of being a cowboy, like how sweet that is. They touch a little bit on this. Richard Prince says, artists are always drawing on like previous artists, the people before them, which is true. And how he shows how these photos were actually influenced by like something from like the 50s where they were actually documenting like real cowboys, like actually doing
really?
real work,
Wow.
and not just like people dressed up like cowboys doing stuff. So that was kind of like where the Marlboro ads influence came from, was something else as well. So it's kind of like everything's a remix to some degree. Which is cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, and that's a really interesting question where it's like, at what point does it become okay? And at what point are you just copying and taking credit for it?
Mm-hmm.
This is a law term, transformative. When does the work become transformative?
That's true. Is cropping transformative enough?
No.
What we're trying to say here, Richard Prince is exploiting the corporate creative.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to corporate creatives out there?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we ourselves we're
corporate creatives. 9 to 5 creatives, baby.
9 to 5 video editors.
9 to 5 corporate creators, full time. Outside of that, 24-hour regular creatives.
There you go. Exactly. So I think the real thing here, and again, this is where I think Richard Prince is interesting, is that he is owning his work, right? And so I think as a creative, you need to think of the opportunities that you're not being exchanged for, right?
Yeah.
Because you think of the commercial photographers and Philip Morris, they're exchanging their work for money. You need to put food on the table.
Yeah, you got it.
You got to put
hungry
a roof
mouths
over your head. But think of opportunities where you can own what you do. And that's where the risk comes in, right? And so that's where I think that guy's wrong, where it's like he has no inherent risk. He has risk. He has risk in what he's doing. Yeah, as a creative, you need to think of the things that you are going to make that are entirely your own. You're not taking quote unquote outside investment that then someone else owns what you're doing.
So that way, if someone takes it along the way, you can try and sue them or something.
Exactly.
Right?
Which happened to Richard Prince, all right?
He got
didn't
sued
get
a
away
lot.
all the time. He didn't get away all the time.
But he did win a lot. He won a lot. He lost a lot. That man was trading blows, man. He was trading blows. Hey, one photo, $1 million. How much time did it take him to take that photo? Probably not that much time.
Yeah. But again, okay, this is like this whole discussion. You think of it face value, the easy answer for this is Richard Prince is in the wrong.
Yeah, easy.
There's a harder question to be asked.
And explore that harder answer.
And it is the imbalance between the artist and the person paying for the art.
So go out there, make art on your own dime, and it's your ownership, 100% ownership. You're not doing it under the name of somebody else. You're doing you. You get to express yourself the way you want. Hopefully nobody copies you. 1 for 1.
AI
might copy.
You're screwed. I'm Garrett.
I'm Jordan.
And this is the Offline Media Podcast.
See you later.
See ya on the next one.
I'll see you in the next one with another controversial photographer.